We are continuing your lockdown showcase of movies, and normally this would be quite a different segment, but it's not because we're all in the same place right now. But we are looking at movies on TV. This is your first half of your week-long selection, and one of the ones that we're going to kick off with this Saturday night is something I haven't seen in years, but I'm really hoping that when I do watch it at 4:40 p.m. on Channel 5, it's not going to have dated. This is Jim Carrey's The Mask. I mean, let's get going with this. This is incredible. Jim Carrey, the debut of Cameron Diaz, incredible technology for its time, and an iconic, and an iconic character. What's not to love?
Really big sunglasses.
Bicorn.
Smallmouth bass.
Wow.
Bowling pin.
Mousetrap.
Rubber chicken.
Little to the left. That's it.
I don't know. Funny eyeball glasses.
I've never seen those before in my life.
Bazooka.
I have a permit for that.
Picture of Kellaway's wife.
What? Uh-oh. Margaret! You son of a... Jeez, I figured you had a sense of humor. After all. You married her! Ah! That's gotta hurt. Get him!
I love that movie so much. I'm such a big fan of the Jim Carrey performance in this, and of course, it's interesting now to see a in his late 20s, erudite Jim Carrey playing a sort of downtrodden everyman, because we're used to him now being so much wackier. And of course, this is the whole Jekyll and Hyde idea. It's the mask of Loki, who of course is a character from mythology who's taken on a whole other meaning now thanks to Marvel. And like you say, those groundbreaking special effects which were just unheard of at the time.
And you know what, it's funny because you see Jim Carrey now, like most recently in the Sonic the Hedgehog movie, and he's doing elements of what you've previously seen in things like The Mask. For me, now it's a little bit cringe because it's just been done so many times. But back in the day, this was so fresh. And this was something that just, it's groundbreaking in so many levels. He was a totally different actor to anyone else on the market at the time. And it just it cemented him.
He was, and this was, of course, the middle entry of what I call the Jim Carrey Big Three, which are the three films he released back-to-back, which were, of course, Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, The Mask, and then Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah.
And over the course of about 12 months, which is a hell of a run for any actor. I mean,
he nailed it.
That's the level of... Yeah, that's the level of success we only really expect of, Dwayne Johnson or Kevin Hart now.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, you can't even compare those guys to what Jim Carrey was back in the day. Those movies, all three of those movies, for anyone of a certain age, i.e. our age, probably 30 upwards, you look at them in such a nostalgic... really nice kind of throwback, and it doesn't date. It just brings back all of those fun lines and things. And actually, I think if we revisit The Mask this weekend, you'll see again, there's things that you've forgotten that will just brilliantly come back up and remind you of again, which I think is just going to be brilliant. And yeah, you're right, the Jekyll and Hyde side of things has worked so well with him.
Well, that's it as well, because it's a very quotable film. That's what I always remember about it. It's one of those films, you'll rewatch it and you will quote along with it. You'll be like, somebody stop me. You'll be doing all that stuff along with it, because it is such an iconic 90s comedy.
It so is.
Definitely worth revisiting.
Yeah. Now, moving on to Sunday night, if you want something a little bit less wacky, I'm not really sure.
Bit edgier.
Bit edgier. We've got Sabotage, film for 11:05 p.m, so it's a bit of a late one, but we know lots of you are staying up late right now. So, Van, tell us a little bit more about Sabotage.
So Sabotage was one of the intended comeback vehicles for a post-politics Arnold Schwarzenegger. This was directed by David Ayer, of course, who went on to give us Suicide Squad and Bright after this.
And one of my favourite films, the cop film with Jake Gyllenhaal and Michael Pena.
End of Watch, which was exactly 3 years before this, I believe. I think that was his film before this one.
Oh, God, it's such a brilliant film. Sorry, going into my own little world with that.
You're quite all right. It's important to treasure End of Watch, I think, because it was that good.
Yeah.
definitely. So, Sabotage stars Arnold Schwarzenegger, Joe Manganiello, Sam Worthington, Terrence Howard. It's Olivia Williams is in there, Harold Perrineau Jr. It's got a hell of a cast. The idea is that Schwarzenegger is Breacher. He is the leader of an elite DEA special weapons and tactics team. They take down the worst of the worst for the DEA. And one day they take down a cartel sort of safe house that just happens to be filled with a lot of cash. They take a bunch of it and they stash it in the sewer and they blow the place up to sort of cover their tracks. And then many months later, before they can go and retrieve the cash, as they'd all previously agreed, the team starts getting picked off one by one.
Any of this a surprise to you?
Just let it go, huh?
Surprise to you, Sugar?
I don't really know what you're talking about.
Guess I'm the only one with any balls here. It's the goddamn money.
Just let it go, all right?
No! It's an occupational hazard when you fight the cartels.
Oh, really? You see any other feds getting smoked?
It could happen to anyone.
You believe that, Chief? Or is that just some you're spitting in case this place is bugged?
Always assume that someone is listening.
I ain't gonna fight you, boss.
Manganiello and Arnie there. Now that's a pairing.
The thing that I like about what David Ayer does, particularly, I'm referring specifically to End of Watch, he gets that kind of buddy comedy feel to it, but also the tension builder in this. Now, I imagine he's really good at building tension. Do we find that a lot in Sabotage?
I don't know. I think, to be honest, of all the Ayer films, this feels, I think, the most plot-centric.
Okay.
But by virtue of how twisty-turny it is, the who's playing who, what's really going on behind the scenes, who's double-crossing which one kind of element, it's not the greatest film. Okay. I can see why Arnie would have done this as a potential comeback vehicle. So I think he did this, and there was The Last Stand around the same time as well. There were a couple of films out at the same time. This, I can see the appeal of. It doesn't quite get there, but the effort is notable and appreciative. You can definitely get taken and go, I can see why you would do this. This has got a lot going for it. And it is, to be fair, it's worth it just to see that cast going to town on one another, seeing Sam Worthington versus Joe Manganiello versus Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's a great cast to see, you know, at each other's throats. And to have David Ayer doing it, as you point out, a guy who gets the buddy element but never skips on the grid, I think is worth seeing. I would definitely check it out.
So there you go. For all you late night watchers, that's on at Film 4, 11:05 p.m. on Sunday. Now, starting off your new week, we have 3:10 to Yuma on Sony Channel, 9 p.m. Now, this is a Western, isn't it?
It is. This is James Mangold directing, of course, who gave us Ford v Ferrari this last year.
Nice.
He gave us the last two Wolverine movies as well. I'm a big Mangold fan.
Yeah.
And this is his remake of, I don't know if he's remaking the 50s movie or if he's freshly adapting the Elmore Leonard novel this is taken from. This stars Russell Crowe and Christian Bale. And it is the story of a downtrodden rancher who's, you know, in financial hardship, and to make ends meet to save his family, he takes on the job of escorting recently arrested gang leader, played by Russell Crowe, to this train that will escort him to prison. That train cleverly being the 3:10 to Yuma, hence the clever title.
How much you get for a day's work?
$2. Want to hire out?
Well, there's $2 for half a day.
You took up my boy's time, too.
You're right. I did. Anything else you want to get paid for, Dan?
Give me $5 extra.
And what's that for?
For making me nervous.
As you can tell, two great actors there that really, really want to go for that awards fodder with this one, I think.
And were they successful, I suppose, is the question. I'm not so sure.
I don't think so. I think this got good reviews, but was kind of overlooked. It's a great movie, though.
Yeah.
Brilliant performance from Bale because he's awake, and great performance from Russell Crowe because he showed up. So,
Do you know what? This is a film that I have tried to sit down and watch probably 2 or 3 times and never quite got round to sitting through it. I struggle a bit with Westerns, so I need to kind of be in the right frame of mind to watch this. But I've heard such great things about it. And in terms of having good movies on TV to kind of round up your weekend and into your new week. You've got The Mask, you've got Sabotage, you've got 3:10 to Yuma. You've got so much to choose from that I'm pretty sure you're going to be spoilt for choice and not worried about what you're going to be doing this weekend if you are stuck in lockdown. So go and enjoy. We've got more to come.
Well, I couldn't resist this. When I saw that this was going to be showing on TV, I had to recommend your Tuesday night entertainment be literally nothing but The Faculty on 5 Star at 10 p.m. Do you remember The Faculty?
I do, and Josh Hartnett, one of my showbiz moments. I was at Chateau Marmont in LA, as you do, and was
as you would do,
you do, and I was sat on the table next to Josh Hartnett, and Penny Dreadful had finished, and all I could think of was, what is Josh Hartnett doing now? Because he had such a heyday.
Interesting career that he actually is in complete control by. He has done interviews in recent years where he has said, "Look, the reason I wasn't the biggest heartthrob in the world is because I decided naively to just pursue projects with directors I was interested in working with." And you're like, okay, fair enough. Yeah, why not?
I mean, but the thing is that you don't see him working as busily now. So Robert Pattinson, as a great example, had a big claim, but has chosen really exciting things and then has built up his career once again away from Twilight to see him work in things like Batman, which we're going to see him in. So, yeah, I'm not sure that's all down to him.
Interesting coincidence, though. Josh Hartnett has at different points turned down both Superman and Batman. So there is that element to it.
Decided to be a werewolf in a really, really good urban legend TV show. Anyway, The Faculty, fantastic. Like, this kind of falls into your Cruel Intentions, The Craft, like that kind of genre of teen movies that people remember. And again, I'll revisit this. I did really enjoy it.
This one is effectively Invasion of the Body Snatchers at a high school. So the idea is it's the alien invasion through a high school. We follow our plucky young group of kids led by Zeke, Josh Hartnett with his very fashionable for 1998 haircut, the school nerd who's played by Elijah Wood, Laura Harris is in there, Clea Duvall, Sean Hatosi, and of course the goddess herself at the time, Jordana Brewster, who I've nothing but amazing things to say about. I'm a big fan of Jordana Brewster. Can't help myself. Fast and Furious guy. Tell you what, here's Elijah Wood laying the land for us.
Now, where do all these movies come from anyway? How do we know Spielberg, Lucas, Sonnenfeld, Emmerich haven't been visited by aliens? And maybe they're aliens themselves. Maybe they're simply preparing us for what's to come.
You know what, Casey? It's fiction, okay? It's science fiction.
Exactly. Everybody gets hung up on the science part, which has nothing to do with it. They're getting at us through the fiction.
So, aliens have just been setting us up over the years, creating this happy little make-believe existence with their E.T. and their Men in Black movies just so that nobody would believe it if it really happened.
I think so.
And this, of course, comes to us from director Robert Rodriguez. And it had this massive Tommy Hilfiger product placement thing going through it, so all the characters are wearing Tommy. It's got one of the best soundtracks of the late 90s. I mean, honestly, I still listen to this soundtrack to this day. And just a cast of, like, the adults who are in it are all really amazingly cast. It was like Jon Stewart, Baby Newirth, just a hell of a roster. Famke Janssen, I think, is in there. And, of course, there's some quite just amusing alien effects. Not brilliant CG or anything, but just amusing effects. And of course, big shout out to the scariest man in the whole movie, Sir Robert Patrick, who finally finds a villain role worthy of his Terminator 2 clout, I think. So I can't recommend that one highly enough. Check that out on 5 Star, 10 p.m. on Tuesday night. I know you and I love this movie.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I'm thinking about the next movie that we've got to chat about, which is on Wednesday on the Horror Channel at 9 p.m. Flatliners. Now, the original Flatliners.
I was
just trying to think about this because so they literally, what is it? They go under like under anesthetic is the only way I can kind of describe it. But to get a kind of in a Matrix style way, is that right?
They stop their hearts.
Yeah.
They flatline their heartbeat so that they can get a glimpse of the other side, and then after a few minutes they are shocked back. But of course, as we shall find out now, this does not always go according to plan.
Dave, all right, atropine intratracheal. Come on. That is a truckload, Dave. Come on, this has gotta work. This has gotta work. Come on back, Nelson. Come on back, man. Come on, Nelson. Come on. Come on, Nelson. Come on, Nelson. Come on back. He's been dead 10 minutes. 2 1,000. 3 1,000. No, he's not in VFib. No blood pressure. He's dead.
Epi intracardial.
No, Rachel, no. Just do it.
Of Julia Roberts, of course, leading the way there. You've got Keith Sutherland's the guy on the table, I think, at that point. Kevin Bacon's in there, Oliver Platt, and of course, Billy Baldwin.
Yeah, this is amazing. Like, I do remember. This is like is it 80s that this came out in? This was
87.
87. Perfect timing for this. Yeah, it definitely it's got that whole feel. I remember watching this as one of those horror movies I was way too young to watch. So, as always, my memory of this is being absolutely terrified. Why anyone would want to play this game of Russian roulette with their kind of like going and trying to see the other side is crazy. But it is a great film. So if you're into horror, you haven't seen this is vintage horror. It's on the Horror Channel at 9:00 on Wednesday.
Also has a really great soundtrack, directed by Joel Schumacher, who would go on to the Batman movies, and its director of photography. Its cinematographer is none other than future Speed director Jan de Bont. Would you believe?
Nice.
So.
There we go.
So let's move on to Thursday then and go with something a little bit more auteur-like, I would say. Hollywood auteur, we shall say, for its time.
Okay, so that is Unbreakable on the Sony Channel, 9:00. Again, I'm looking at these and I'm going, I'm pretty sure I've seen these. I'm pretty sure that the poster for this is like a broken glass or something, or is it a butterfly? Or no, that's the butterfly effect.
It's broken. Yes, it's broken glass.
that would make sense. Who's in this?
So this is the second mainstream film from M. Night Shyamalan. This was his follow-up to The Sixth Sense, starred Bruce Willis, Samuel L. Jackson, Robin Wright. Spencer Treat Clark, I think, was the son as well. Bruce Willis is the sole survivor of an epic train crash from which he walks away without a scratch. And the theory then becomes, is he, like, a superhero?
The city has seen its share of disasters. I watched the aftermath of that plane crash. I watched the carnage of the hotel fire. I watched the news, waiting to hear a very specific combination of words, but they never came. Then one day I saw a news story about a train accident, and I heard them. There is a sole survivor, and he is miraculously unharmed.
Bruce Willis and Samuel L. Jackson, they're on fine form, as it were, back then. This is before Bruce Willis started really slumming it, I think.
Yeah, totally. Those appearances in Friends and stuff, terrible. But
that was around this time as well.
Yeah, it was. Well, that's a great show to watch. And actually, do you know what, guys? I'm going to give you a right treat to finish your week off with. This is
week off for us. Go on.
I've got a big one for you. Literally, I have.
Is it a big one?
It's the big one. It's the Full Monty on BBC One at 10:45 p.m. Why is this not on at prime time? This is crazy on Friday. It is the ultimate. It's the pond breaker, as I like to call it, because it did so well here in the UK, but then it went phenomenally well across the pond in the US. And I have to say, Van's face as I was saying that looked as if I was absolutely crazy with what analogy is she bringing up now?
I've never heard of a pond breaker before. Although, it does sound like the kind of thing they title a Daniel Craig Bond movie, doesn't it?
Yeah.
007 in Pond Breaker.
Well, look, there's not a huge amount that needs to be said that hasn't already been said about the Full Monty. It's just an absolute dream of a film, well worth a watch.
Times 10 quid by 1,000, right? And you've got... Yeah, well, a very lot.
I know, Dave, I mean, it's worth a thought, though, isn't it?
Oh, aye. I just see little and large prancing around Sheffield with the widgers hanging out. Now, that would be worth 10 quid.
Don't be so bloody daft. We were just saying,
Widgers on parade. Bring your own microscope.
I don't see why the chuff not, Gerald.
Because you're fat and he's thin, and you're both ugly.
Robert Carlyle, Mark Addy. I love this movie so much. And of course, this is a very big deal to the city of Sheffield, from where I am from.
Oh, well, there you go.
From whence I came,
From whence you came. Oh, just something that you're going to want to end your week on and start your weekend with. What a watch for you.